Welcome to Lykken on Lending, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of the mortgage industry. Your host, David Lykken, bringing you the latest insights, trends, and updates from the world of mortgages. Whether you're a seasoned industry veteran or just getting started, this show is your go-to source for all things mortgage. Let's get started. This is Lykken on Lending. Now your host, David Lykken.
Listeners, you're in for a real treat. I know I say that in many of our podcasts, but today I have a guest on here. His name is Granger Whitelaw. He is a visionary entrepreneur. He is an investment banker, technology innovator whose career spanned Wall Street, fintech, capital and venture, media, philanthropy. Over the past 3 decades, he has helped raise over $10 billion in capital, pioneering innovations in e-commerce, and founded and scaled multiple successful companies and advised global businesses across technology and finance. Beyond the boardroom, he has partnered with Indy 500 champion teams, co-founded Rocket Racing League. Yes, you heard me right. He did that along with Pierre Diamandis, and that has just brought so many groundbreaking innovations to our world and where we're at. Check it out. You could go through that. Today, he is a chairman of the Faystone Capital Partners and a CEO of Raybar Group. Granger also continues to shape the future of innovation while sharing his insights with leaders around the world. I heard him speak at the Mindset Summit, which is connected again with Pavan Agarwal of Angel AI. I was just blown away when I heard his story. One of the things that I immediately ran up to him and said, I've got to have you on the podcast. I didn't think there was a snowball's chance in heck that I'd be able to get him here, but he quickly agreed to it. We just had one of those instant connections. And they said, hey, by the way, here, I'll send you a podcast that I was recently on that will kind of give you some insights into what I do. And so the podcast is the Money Mondays podcast. I encourage you to like and subscribe to that. The podcast, we're putting a link to that in the show notes, but the podcast was From Rocket Racing to Venture Capital, Granger Whitelaw on Building Wealth and Changing the World. May we all have such noble, aspirational ideas, such as you're going to hear in today's podcast. Without further ado, let's get started with the interview.
You've done so well. I love some of the companies that you started. Talk about the first company that did extraordinarily well. It was a very interesting.
So the first company that I really started that is notable was a company in Bermuda, actually. I wrote the first law for e-commerce. And back in 1998, 99, there was no legislative body around e-commerce transactions. So my partner and I saw an opportunity to do this. We did it in Bermuda under Commonwealth law. My private active legislation, which is what we wrote, kind of like a bill you put in the U.S., but in Commonwealth law, it's private active legislation. You can create your own law for your company. And if it's approved by the Parliament, which ours was, it becomes law. Same as Lloyd's of London was incorporated, right? So we wrote this legislation that dealt with the settlement of transactions, where they occur, how you digitally sign, which you use DocuSign today. Back then they had nothing. First digital signature law and different types of financial instruments, what the nexus is, how they settle, so where your tax basis is. So I wrote that legislation with 2 large law firms, and that was really kind of cool. It was called EBS Limited, active 1999. EOC Net was the company, and then we sold it to London Telecom. So after that, I helped build a software company. And during that time, I had been racing IndyCar with Buddy Lazier, who I grew up with in Vail. So Buddy and I, that's Buddy behind me,
right there,
together, and he was driving with a broken back, won the Indy 500 in 1996. And subsequently, I partnered with Eddie Cheever in 98, and we won that. So won twice in 3 years, and had a lot of fun in IndyCar, and met a gentleman by the name of Pierre Diamandis when I started to think. So I started a think tank for CIOs, right? CIOs like Frank Campagnani at GE, which is the biggest company in the world then. Yeah. Who do they call at 2:00 in the morning when they have to figure out how to report to the board the next 5-year, mobile plan or what their digital plan is going to be? Who do they call and who do they talk to? So they can call McKinsey and get a McKinsey report, throw it on the table, it's safe. Well, I thought, hey, let's get 45, 50 of the most brilliant minds in the world and make them fellows and put them together in a think tank and really let these guys talk to the best guys on the planet, right? And that's what we did. So that was called TrendSphere. And I ended up selling that to the ex-CIO of Karstead Quell, which was the largest retailer in the world at the time. But anyway, TrendSphere is really cool. Peter is one of my fellows. And Peter at that time was starting the X Prize Foundation to give a $10 million prize for the first team that could build a spaceship privately funded, carrying the payload of 3 people to go suborbital twice in 2 weeks.
Orbital in 2 weeks. There's some complications with that.
Lots of complications. You got to have leading edge technology. It's never been done before. The reason why, if you can do that, then you can bring down the cost of space flight, right? And that's why myself and Elon and other guys put money into, we're benefactors of the X Prize Foundation. And the Ansaris came in, wrote a big check to underwrite the final thing. And it was won by Burt Rutan and Paul Allen from Microsoft in 2004, October 4th. The reason that is so important is because it changed mankind as we know it, right? SpaceX just went public. It's $115 a share today. That's Elon's company, right? So
And you've known him for...
I've known him since 26 years of him. So we met where after he sold PayPal, and actually Peter and I met him right around the same time, became friends. I mean, he's not a close buddy of mine, but I've helped him out a little bit, and he's helped me out. But we're both the same. We both think about how can we create technology or support technology to change mankind. That's what the basis of X Prize is. That's the basis of Tesla. That's the basis of SpaceX. That's the basis of what I was doing in the technology of the company that we wrote in Bermuda, and is how I look at investing in companies, right?
So there's really something significant there, because you want to make money, you want to prosper and all those things. But when your goal is ultimately one of your whys, you would say, if you're listening to Simon Sinek, he'd say, we want to better society as a result of what we're investing in, creating and things like that, which is very significant. In fact, there's a lot of setbacks that happen when it comes to any business. One of those setbacks happened when you were racing IndyCars. There was a horrible crash. Tell that story and what came out of that, because I'm talking about this. That was such an amazing story.
Right. So about 9 weeks before the Indy 500 in 96, we were in testing in Phoenix, and Buddy got hit by Lynn St. James and went backwards into the wall. Hit like right. If you cross an X in the back of the car where the starter is, it was like right in the middle of the starter. 99 G's came up through it and broke his back in 16 places. So it looks, if you drop an egg and it cracks everywhere, that's what his sternum looked like, right? So we thought, is he going to walk again? I was crying and driving to the airport as the helicopter was taking him. I was freaking out. This is my friend since I was born in Vail, right? Anyway, so he recovered, we got him back to Vail, and he just recovered fast, and he's tough. And for Indy, we usually do 800 laps of practice for the race. 800 laps to get the car dialed in, 600, 800,000, whatever, to get the car dialed in. But he did 50 practice laps that year. 50. That's nothing. And we had to have a special seat designed for him. The Lear company, Lear is a seating company, and Dr. Brock Walker from IndyCar, is a wonderful guy, designed a seat that came from his neck down to the top, just the bottom of his ankle, right above his foot, and just molded it to him. And we molded it into the car. So we literally poured him in the car, strapped him down as tight. And if you watch the replay of the Indy 596, on yellows, you can see Buddy doing this because he's trying to get circulation in his arms, right? Wow. And we won the Indy 500. I mean, it was unbelievable. I can't even tell you. And that's a great thing that came out of a horrible situation, right? And new technology, the seating technology brought now puts into some of the Air Force jets and military jets. I can't go into details, but our military is using. And now that also translates into upgrades in commercial, general aviation, right? So if you land and you hit the ground, he's designed shock resistant seating for that. So that's great if you're in a personal GA plane and you crash, or for automobiles. So technology that comes out of, endeavors like IndyCar, Formula One, rocket racing, etc., they impact and change the world.
When I heard you talk, you were talking, that really captured my attention. There's so many speakers, and they're one after another, and they're outstanding. All y'all were just amazing. But then you were talking, what really caught my attention was you talking about rocket racing rockets in a vertical manner rather than the normal horse. Talk about whose idea was that? That sounds absolutely crazy.
Right. So Peter joined my think tank, and I invited him to the Indy 500 in 2000 was it 99? I can't remember 2000. Anyway, he came to the Indy 500 with me, and I took him down, introduced him to Allenser Senior and Allenser Junior and Robbie Allenser and AJ Foyt and everybody, and showed him the track. And I had my winner's rings on. So anyway, VIP'd him, and that night we had a steak and shake. I love steak and shake. Steak and shake fries, a little chili. Anyway, we were eating steak and shake, and Peter looks at me and he goes, "Why don't we do this with rockets?" And I said, "What are you talking about, Peter? With rockets?" He goes, we can make an IndyCar style thing, racing event with rocket planes." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, now, so Peter's a rocket guy. He's a space guy. He's all space, and I'm all like race cars, right? So anyway, we literally sit down and we drew out the first idea for the first patent for the Rocket Racing League. And we said, when we award the X Prize, we'll start it. So 2004, October 4th, the X Prize was awarded to Paul Albert Rutan. October 4th, 2005, 1 year the date later, we launched the Rocket Racing League. IndyCar style racing, instead of a road course, 90 on the ground, turn it 90 degrees and race in the air. Lots of issues there, right? How do you turn on and off a rocket engine? How do you turn off liquid rocket engine on and off? You only have a couple reasons. One, as a missile to hit a target off of the wing of a plane. Two, launch a rocket to the moon. Like, you don't want it to turn off. You want it to get through its mission, right?
Right.
So that technology had to be delivered.
This is Peter's brain. Peter's brain is just so imaginative, and why not? And this is, if I love Patrick Lencioni, the Six Working Geniuses. He is clearly a guy that works at the wonder. Why can't we? He asks those questions. Why can't we do this?
Peter?
Yeah, Peter.
Oh yeah, Peter's fabulous. I love him. He's like a brother. He is definitely out there. And we were talking about mining asteroids and many things, and all the different X Prizes that came after the Space X Prize, right? For Progressive Auto X Prize and the Cancer X Prize and all the different ones they have now are all about for breakthroughs for mankind. That's really what it was. First it was the Space X Prize. Now it's breakthrough for mankind. So really, he is an out of the box thinker. And then some of us execute. So, you need both.
So good.
But anyway, it's pretty interesting.
How you set up the race course with the lines, and watching how on a football game how they lay down the imaginary lines where the football is.
So if you think about an airplane in the sky and speed, they look like they go very slowly. If you sit and watch a plane go by, you're like, wow, that plane's going slow, right? Unless it's in the clouds, and then you see it picking up speed in your eyes. So I had to figure out how to make speed with these planes relevant to a race. And, from IndyCar racing or Formula One, there's red and white stripes on tracks and on turns. And as the car goes over it, it looks like it's going really fast. Or if you drive a car, you go by a bunch of light posts or fence posts, you look like you're flying, right? So I saw the first down line in football. It's a yellow line. Every 10 yards, you pass the first down line, that yellow line. That's superimposed a graphic. So I called the guy who patented it. Actually, I knew him. But anyway, and I licensed that for IndyCar and created rings and squares and circles that we would have the pilots see in a heads-up display. So they would race their color triangle, square, circle. So they knew where they were, and that we had separation for accidents. And on TV, you would see them racing through the rings, and you could root for your guy, right? Plus, they have 15-foot flames. We seeded them different colors. It was just an incredible spectacle, which you saw. And then we took that and put it into a video game. So then you could race along with the pilots, and you could play the video game. And same thing, the rings. And so that you compress the rings closer together, you get more speed, and you can really feel it and see it.
Wow. And out of that came the reusable rocket.
Well, out of the X Prize came the reusable rockets, right?
The Prize came a reusable rocket. Okay.
Other technology came out of that, right? So heads-up display for safe return. So you take that same technology, you put it into your Piper, your Beechcraft, your own plane, and then you're in a difficult situation. Maybe you're not a inclement weather pilot, so you hit a button and boom, up appears a bunch of squares, and you just fly them back to the runway.
Fly right in. That's the Cirrus Vision Jet 2 has that, and you had the button that automatically flies right back. And that's the technology that came out of it. It's just, I love how people like you think. Now let's take this from rocket science, racing cars, to the mortgage industry. You also spotted an opportunity within the mortgage industry some years back. Now that one didn't go quite as planned, but It had to do with timing. Talk about that a little bit. I want to connect our audience.
Yeah, I know.
You know the mortgage industry, you know the space.
Yeah, so I'm a venture capitalist, right? I mean, that's really what I've been doing for years, and now I'm more of a long-term investor, investment banker. But yeah, so a gentleman came to me. He had a really new technology and platform he had built to acquire the listings of homeowners well before they were going to sell them.
Homeowners, okay,
right? So look at all the millions of homeowners, right? So he came and he built this platform, and his idea was, and he executed it, to have Remax, a Coldwell Banker, and all the big listing agents on there, and go to the homeowners and say, here, I'm going to give you a $1,500 Home Depot card, which you can use to improve your home or whatever you want. The only condition is when you sell your home or transfer to your children, when they sell the home, you must pick someone off my website, off my platform, one of my realtors in your area. Well, of course people will do that. There's no downside. They get to pick the realtor. The 4 or 5 big ones are all on there.
A choice. So it's not like you're narrowing them into one realtor. No. You have a choice of realtors. That
brilliant idea. Great technology he built. Great. He had a great quant on staff. Became a friend of mine. Met with one of the biggest banks in the world. Put together a $3 billion facility for him. A warehouse facility, and we launched it in July of 2008.
Timing.
So timing is everything, right? Timing can be good and timing can be bad. We all know what happened shortly thereafter. The market melted down and that company blew up. So unfortunately, no pun intended. That was a cool technology and a cool business model in the mortgaging industry, and that just didn't go. Unfortunately,
I think people are going to rewind this and listen to that and go, why can't that still now work now? Let's go back and
do it. You could do it. Why not? But what a brilliant idea, right? You go to the listing guys, Remax, and say, hey, listen, you're getting 6% back then. I think it was back 2007. Remember when we put the contracts together? So our side of that's 3.5. We take 1.75. You take the other half, and I will bring the listings to you. You do nothing.
Wow, I love it. Such a brilliant idea. So let's talk about, you are an active investor. You're now more working on the bank side, as you said. And so an investment banker looks for investment banking opportunities, and a banker is more a long-term type player. And so I want to talk about our industry, it lacks so much innovation. And we have been struggling with that for my 52 years in this industry, Granger, and we are still struggling with it, although we are starting to see some very encouraging signs. And I want to get your perspective of what you're seeing out there that is catching your attention right now.
Sure. Well, I think it is, kind of a boring industry, right? Like banking, it's just boring. I didn't want to be a banker. I didn't want to work for a bank like my dad or whatever. I want to be a venture capitalist. And but anyway, more high risk. But I think a lot of the problems with mortgage banking and the industry itself is that it's a regulated industry. So whenever you're in a regulated industry, you can't get too entrepreneurial. What I'm seeing today now is with the introduction of AI and new technologies that it's going to change that industry. And one of your great guests, who is a friend of mine actually, Pavan Agrawal at Angel AI, is way ahead of the curve. Now I've seen better and I've seen lower, and there's other guys out there doing stuff in technology, but there's nobody that does what Angel AI is doing. And I think that is a company that everybody should look at how they can emulate that and be a part of that in any way they can. So being able to do a transaction from origination all the way through closing and then add on other services on the backside, who thought that could be done, right? I mean, that's great. And the fact that the regulators have approved it and audited it and are standing behind it, that's unheard of. So, that is a perfect storm coming together for the positive. When you get the regulators behind a company that's as brilliant and as forward as that will change mankind. That will help change access to mortgages for everybody at any income level. And that's amazing. That truly is amazing.
It really is. And there's an announcement. I just recorded a podcast with Pavan earlier this morning. And in that podcast, he gave you a big promote for everyone to listen to this podcast, which is we're going to be releasing after the one we did with Pavan. But one of the criteria that you said when you come to investing is you invest in companies that you know. If you own an Apple phone, you said in this other interview that I really loved, you said, invest in Apple. If you own a Tesla, drive a Tesla, interested in cars, invest in Tesla. And you said, I look at those companies where the owners have deep knowledge of the industry. You and I both know Pavan. I met him when he was 11 years old when I was trading loans to his dad. And I told you that story as we were getting to know each other. It's an extraordinary story about, so this young man has been raised in it by someone who challenged him to go ahead. It's not that complicated. Go learn it. Figure this out. And Pavan figured out a way of doing that. And so I think that is one of the things that I was impressed by, the investment criteria that you mentioned in this interview on Money Mondays, and or Money on Monday, or whatever the name of that podcast is. The link is
Money
down.
Mondays.
Yeah. And you said that's one of the criteria. And I thought that was really significant because there's a lot of people, AI is the buzzword now. Everybody's getting into it. I'm listening to some of the top mortgage lenders investing in this right now, but sadly, they don't have a strategy. Pavan has been thinking about this since he was, I met him at 11 years old, and he was already thinking about it. And he has been designing AI, and he said he saw the day when AI would be able to have a huge impact on the market, and it is. So what's so good for me is I get a lot.
And he didn't build it like an LLM. He designed his own platform, and he designed it ground up to do exactly what it's doing. So to go out and replicate what he had would be, almost impossible today. It would take you, millions and millions of dollars and time because of how he built that. So yeah, and my point it's a couple different things you're talking about. So it was actually a friend of mine who said, and I agree because I have the same theory, that if you're going to use a Seagate hard drive, invest in Seagate, because if it's that good and it is, other people are going to do it, right? So invest in things you use, certainly, certainly a low level beginning investor, intermediate investor. You should always do that, right? As far as investing in managements, 100% you want to invest in management that knows what they're doing. But you also want to invest in managements that are humble, that aren't ego driven, because that kills almost every company. I'm telling you, if a venture capitalist only hits 8 or 7 out of 10 deals, 5 or 6 of them are because of ego of the board or the CEO. You got to have alignment with the board or the CEO. They got to be humble. They have to understand how to align other people around them to help build the business where they're weak. If they can't do that, I just walk away. And I tell you, David, some of the best deals I ever did are the ones I walked away from. If that makes any sense. Makes perfect sense to me. So yeah. And then if a friend of yours comes to you and says, "Hey, David, man, I want to go buy these franchises, or I want to go do this new business." If you know that industry and you have deep knowledge of that, then you should be able to vet that deal on your own and make a decision. If you don't, unless you just have money to throw away, I wouldn't do the deal. So, I think that if people ask me, how should I invest in things you know or understand. That's always the best thing, even if it hurts your friends' feelings.
Yeah, great. That's really, really good point. And Pavan has won the respect of now other countries. He announced on today's podcast. In fact, there's a press release coming out. We're recording this on Wednesday, August 5th, and releasing a press release today that the Japanese fund invested in a fund of $100 million with many more hundreds of millions to flow into it. But it's all predicated upon using the Angel AI technology. And once you build a solid foundation, more money will come in because of, his case, it is been vetted by those that regulate our industry, and they're giving thumbs up to it. And to the point where Pavan will actually warrant the loans that go through that system, especially if they're going to SunWest. So there's a wonderful story. But one of the things, I love everything about the way you think and the background. I'm a snow skier, so I was snow skiing. I'm probably younger than your mom, but I'm sitting here looking at the days when I used to live in Aspen and ski in Vail. And I wish I had met you in those younger days, way back when. But what really captured my attention was what you have done with your wealth. You believe in giving back. I love your foundation. Would you talk about that? Because listeners, it's great to have success. Many of you have said success and say, well, we were more successful back in the good days. Now we have. I think there's a principle that when you have a mindset to give back, I think you're set.
Having a giving mindset or impact mindset is key. So for me, at this point in my life, everything I do is kingdom oriented, right? I'm a strong Christian, Christ follower, and Faith Stone Capital is my company. We have a nonprofit called Faith Rock and a DAF called Faith Rock as well. And the DAF is part of the Waterstone Group. So Waterstone Group manages DAFs and charitable foundations, et cetera. And it's a phenomenal organization. And they help you take money that you've made or assets that you've now created and have a value at exit and put them into a DAF, which is a donor advised fund. And they help you manage that because
DAF is an acronym for Donor Advised
Fund. Right. And you can put your $10 million in there, your $1 million, your $100 million, whatever it is. If I take that money and I put it into a DAF, then I can say, hey, I'd really like to invest in my friend's taco stand that he's going to build. Or, I want to buy this real estate. And I want to buy that building or those residences, and I'm going to rent them out and take the income from it, and then they appreciate over years, and you sell them 100% tax free. All of that money is 100% tax free forever. Now you yourself can't benefit from it, but the DAF can, and you can impact a lot of people that way in a positive way. And so Waterstone gives away $5 million a week right now to Christian charities that come from the people who put the money into the DAF, and the profits from that spin out to these charitable organizations. It's an amazing thing to do. So if you can do that, it's a wonderful thing to do. If you don't know what a DAF is, I would invite you to Google it, Donor Advised Fund. And the Waterstone Group is the leading one in the country as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's what you're referring to, correct?
That's exactly what I'm referring to. Yeah, I think a donor advised fund. So the donors are actually...
You know what I do?
Yeah, go ahead.
In any deal I do now, if you came to me and said, hey, I want to sell my company. Okay, I'll take the sell side engagement. I'll sell your company and we're going to sell it and you're going to make $25 million. I'll say, listen, John or David, when you sell it, I'd like you to take 10% of that or 20% of that and put it towards a Christian charity. Put it into a DAF, put it into a 501c3, put it into your Jewish temple if you're Jewish. Because I mostly work with believers of any faith, right? But you got to be a believer. I'm not talking to you. So, and that is a way to kind of push them into and invite them into being charitable and have the resources to help them. If they don't have them, if they don't have the experience, hey, I know who you can call and I'll take our commission and I'll match you. Let's do it together, right? And if people do that more and more today, if people do that, just think about it in the very beginning, it has immense rewards. So it's their choice where they want to put it. Heart Foundation, it doesn't really matter. But try to be impactful with the money that you make. It's different than tithing. This is direct impact investing, and you can be really, really helping a lot of people in doing it.
I'm thinking of one of my clients particularly, several of them actually, that are seeking ways to do this. They've been very successful. They accumulated a good amount of money, and they're looking for Lykken. How can we find this? I was not aware of a DAF. And now I do, and I'm going to be directing them to the Waterstone and yourself, and to get these set up. It's really wonderful.
Happy to talk to them, and there's other DAFs too that I know, but Waterstone is by far and away really the most entrepreneurial and phenomenal people. The board of directors, Ben Carson Jr. and Ricky Kaplan, Ken Harrison, they're just phenomenal people. Aaron Brown, salt of the earth, all strong believers. So you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. One of the things that has also been key to your success is you find people that share your values, that have deep knowledge, as you said. And one of those individuals you're recently talking to is Bill Dallas. In fact, I'm so excited about you connecting with Bill because this is someone that I've watched his career. We've had a parallel career, both of mortgage companies, both done similar things, both sold into what became a debacle, a housing debacle. We went through all of that together.
I crashed.
We're
all part of that, right?
I've been through that. I came out of that thing all right. Bill's all right. He survived. He's doing really, really well. But I love the fact that you find people like that. And so I want to give a shout out to Bill Dallas and some of the things that how you're working with him. So you're not drawing away. I mean, we listen to Space Rocks, all the things you have done in investing. You still have an eye on the mortgage industry, and you're pulling on really sage knowledge from guys like Bill. So kudos to you for finding Bill. And I can't wait to hear about some of the stuff that you guys are doing together.
What a superhuman being he is, right? So it's someone who I've met recently, but he is part of a Christian group I am in, of very, very, very accomplished men. And I have the highest respect for him and his background. And to me, that's God knitting, right? It really is. I mean, when I tell you I've completely surrendered to Christ, I completely have surrendered to Christ. I gave him all my business and everything every day to run. So, I'm not a holy roller, but I am fully yoked in Christ. And so is Bill. And I can tell you that it's more and more, I see it happening every day, Christian men and women working together. So I don't have the ego anymore that I used to when I was younger. And that's what I said. If you can't back people with big egos and who aren't humble, I want to be humble in everything I do. And I don't know anything about the mortgage industry like you do, and like Pavan does, and like Dallas does, and other gentlemen that I know who I've surrounded myself with. I'm just a good communicator, and I'm trying to help some people do some things. So when I find them, because I think I just open myself up to taking advice from people and guidance, really.
Well, we desperately need innovation. You're connected with, I think, the most innovative product that I've seen come along in the 5 decades plus that I've been in this industry, and that's what
Angel AI.
Angel AI, what he's built. I think there's others to come along as well. I encourage others to come along because I think it's competition that really helps us all fine tune and hone our skills to what we're doing. So, Granger, thank you.
You may see another one come that is more faith-based.
Yes. I love it. I want to say thank you so much for you being here and being a part of this podcast today. I do want to have you back. I want to stay in touch again. In fact, us talking about Bill the other day inspired me to set up a podcast, but Bill and I are going to do a podcast because we're seeing the resurgence of the non-conforming, even some no income verification loans. And so we're seeing, are we going to go back to the way it was? It's still a much smaller percentage of the loans, but we're going to pull on Bill's knowledge, my knowledge, and see, are there opportunities there? Bill thinks there are because of where interest rates are, the regulatory environment, and there is some opportunity. So what did we learn? Where could we go with all of that? And I think when you bolt something like Selligence, Angel AI into the middle of that, all of a sudden some of the risk is taken out. So I think we're in some exciting new days for our industry. I've never been more excited to be a part of the mortgage industry. I'm 75 years old. Who cares? It's all about the new.
You're the youngest 25-year-old I know, David. Come on.
I love it. I'm so excited about being.
Congratulations on everything that you've done too. I want you even credit talking about me and everybody else. But listen, you are such a super human being. The connection I had with you was a spiritual one when I met you. I felt so good just to be in your presence, and you've done such great things in your life, and you help so many people. So thank you.
Well,
I want you to know that people need to praise you as well.
As the saying goes, we've only just begun. And I really believe that. They say 75. I think about Moses didn't get called into his primary job until he was 85. So I'm still maybe 10 more years in training before I get to my primary assignment. Granger, what a joy to have you here. And so looking forward to continuing to get to know you better as we both work with Pavan and Bill and all the other exciting new initiatives that are hopefully going to be emerging in the mortgage space. So good to have you here. Blessings to you, brother.
Thank you. God bless you.
You bet. Thank you.
Folks, this podcast is brought to you by all of our sponsors, but with a special focus on Angel AI this time because of the fact that I met our guest, Granger Whitelaw, through Angel AI, through Pavan, and I want to give him the honor, and we're going to dedicate this podcast to him. Pay attention to what we, again, go back and listen to what we talked about here. Listen to the link on that YouTube video that I attached to the show notes here. It's a must listen to for many reasons. And I encourage you to share, like, subscribe, and just share this with others. Thank you.